Hi, I am One Doji Dude, and I am here to help you write a great story. Fun. Entertaining. There are worse things you can call a movie, and Return of the Jedi is the pinnacle of entertainment. It's nearly impossible not to have a good time watching it, even if you dislike the Ewoks or are not the biggest Star Wars fan. In my study of this film, I concluded that while Return is a good film, it is also a downgrade from its predecessors. In taking this step back, it set the first stone on the road that led to the franchise's decline in quality. The sequence in Jabba's palace is my favorite in the film, and I am sure I am not alone in that. It has adventure, mounting tension, terrific music, loads of wonderment thanks to its gallery of aliens and robots, I mean, you name it. It's also the most illogical segment of the original trilogy. Let's be upfront, Star Wars is no stranger to plot holes, nor does it adhere to strict logic. Throughout the movies, a bit of good fortune played its part in keeping the lead characters alive. There's no denying that. Think of it as a magic trick. We know it's not real magic at work, but the best magicians know how to sell the illusion. The rescue of Han Solo is convincing the first time around. Constant rewatches expose how ridiculous the whole setup really is. What's the point of Lando infiltrating the palace if they're still going to send Leia in disguise? Is it so he could rescue Chewbacca after Leia rescued Han? Where do the droids fit in the scheme? Why did 3PO tell R2 Chewbacca never returned from Jabba's palace? He comes in with Leia later. How did Leia plan to sneak Han out? Why did Luke come into the palace unarmed? Especially after every one of his friends failed to accomplish anything. Why not dispatch a commando team to release Han? He's obviously a valuable asset. I mean, he was a captain in Empire, and by return he's already a general, even though all he did in between was stand frozen in carbonite. How can Luke be sure that Jabba's goons won't find the lightsaber hidden inside R2-D2? How does he know R2 will be on hand to eject his weapon into the air? Okay, that's enough. You might argue I'm being picky and anybody could rip apart several other moments in the trilogy in a similar fashion. And we could, true. But no matter which scene or sequence you pick, I don't think you'll turn up as many questions and logic gaps as you can in Jabba's palace. Jabba's palace may be the first time in the original trilogy where a spectacle trumped character believability. The sequence remains effective because the odds are stacked against our characters, and it highlights the emotional core of the trilogy. Friends don't leave friends behind, united we stand. The other problem that began seeping into the franchise is the concept of underdog fatigue, which I coined in my Rogue One analysis. While the Empire was never a benchmark for efficiency, it remained competent and menacing enough to give the good guys pause. Return put an end to that. Perhaps The Empire Strikes Back overplayed its hand in heightening the Empire's martial power. For the closing chapter of the trilogy, the filmmakers were left with two choices. Either continue to build on the Empire's technological might and give the rebels a much tougher fight and a costly victory, or scale down the Empire's power so the rebels had a fighting chance. Obviously, they went with the second choice. That's how we ended up with mutated teddy bears posing a serious challenge to the Empire in open combat. That's how the massive Star Destroyers proved unable to stop an outnumbered rebel fleet and were so ludicrously vulnerable to the firepower of one-man fighters. The closing battles still work because the heroes don't have it easy. They have to put up a serious fight and earn their victory. The handicap is that it seems Return of the Jedi felt obligated to dumb down the enemy even further to assure the audience of a rebel victory. As a result of all this, I am torn between enjoying a fantastically fun movie and worrying over the minuscule but quite visible cracks spreading across the plaster walls. Another downgrade is the lack of conflict between characters. The high standards that Empire had set went out the window in Return. Everybody gets along just swell, even people who shouldn't. Luke is quick to forgive Obi-Wan's blatant lie and feeble rationalization. No scene of Han and Lando patching things up. When it tries to create drama, it feels contrived, such as when Han gets jealous of Luke, and Leia, for some reason, won't defuse the situation with the truth. If it wasn't for the Emperor scenes, this movie would feel exceedingly tame in the dramatic department. Not that I think those scenes are brilliant either. The Emperor is a terrific character, don't get me wrong, but Luke is too passive to create compelling drama. Absence of inter-character conflict means the characters are all in comfortable places. so there's no need for them to overcome inner flaws and transform into better people. Ergo, the story lacks emotional catharsis. You might counter that point by remarking Darth Vader changes in the third act, but his transformation carries along a whole set of problems. I'll get into them later. So the character work and the drama are not very enticing. Luckily, the plot is strong enough to carry the movie. I don't belong to the group of fans that get their undies in a twist because George Lucas brought back the Death Star for this final installment. You can't watch the Battle of Endor and the Battle of Yavin and say they're the same thing. The only common denominator is that they need to blast a weak spot to blow up the Death Star. Apart from that, completely different setup. And if it's not your cup of tea, there are still the parallel narratives of the rebels in the forest and Luke's showdown with Vader and the Emperor. The first, second, and third acts are wonderfully crafted. They keep things exciting and fun, and our heroes have to pull out all the stops to win. What else can we ask of an adventure story featuring underdogs? Except, Return of the Jedi is not just an adventure movie. At least, it's not all that's trying to be. There's a more serious side to the campiness and the fireworks.